Hello guys!
Hi. There's so many cameras in this room, I don't know where to look.
So normally I do the recording, but today Bob is in charge. He's the director.
It's mayhem, absolute mayhem. We've got 3 cameras, a couple of mics, plus a mic on a camera. It's going to be mayhem when it comes to editing, but let's see where we get. Hey, hello partner.
How's it going? Long time. So today, Bob, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about some pointy stuff. We're talking about pointy guitars, specifically Explorers.
We are indeed, and you know, there's only you know, the Explorer for me is a mythical guitar because there was only 30 made roughly, wasn't there? 30, 40? 30?
Yeah, I think there was a batch of less than 2 dozen made originally in '58.
Right.
And then an indeterminate but very small number made of leftover parts up until about '63. The reason is it was made like the Flying V as a kind of super modernistic Gibson's response as a conventional, very conservative company to the space age and what Leo Fender was doing with the Stratocaster.
And if you look at them, I mean, the design is very space age, isn't it? It's got the, you know, like the stars, the kind of the jagged look, and some of the photos I've seen of these, Bob, back in 1958, are guys with suits and ties teaching in a very sort of studious manner with one of these things. So it wasn't a heavy metal guitar at all. There wasn't even heavy metal around.
Heavy metal didn't start for another 15 years. Yeah,
so you see these quite conservative guitar teachers in the back of guitar stores in America playing one of these things, you know.
But these things were a complete flop. They were a sales flop. I mean, they managed to make just under 100 Flying Vs and about 2 dozen of these things. Right. And mostly what happened was they just languished in dealer windows as a kind of a novelty, like a bit of signage, because nobody would go near them, because the guitar buying public turned out to be, just as it is now, you know, it likes its sunburst and it likes its arch tops and all the rest of it. It's very, very conservative. But disclaimer here, guys, neither of these guitars, although they're both modelled on Gibson, neither of these is a Gibson. And certainly neither of these is a 1958 Gibson Explorer.
But you nonetheless have played a real one, haven't you?
I have. I played 2 actually,
right.
But I played one very briefly a long time ago, and I played one for a lot longer more recently.
And so what was the kind of, when you picked it up, was there a certain thing about the neck which sort of, were you like, oh, I didn't realise it was going to be like that kind of neck, or so the weight of it? Is there, what can you tell us?
When I played a '58 Flying V, about 20 years ago, there was a guitar that came into this country, and it came in, I think it landed at £70,000. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It changed hands for 110,000 about 3 days later.
Yeah.
Changed hands again for 130,000 about 4 days later. So a lot of profit was being made very quickly by the dealers, layers of dealers.
Yeah.
But that's in a collection somewhere now. I don't even know if it's still in the UK, but I played that guitar at some length. Fantastic guitar.
Really?
Really loud, shouty guitar, a bit like Pavarotti, just huge, right? But wide, flat neck.
So very flat, really sort of.
I mean, actually, it was wide and flat. It was still curved. It wasn't like a classical guitar, but it was definitely. It felt very modern. And you know, if you wanted to kind of tap and noodle and shred, it was amazing. It was a 1958 guitar.
But they're wider, aren't they?
And Explorers are similar. The batch they were made from, they seemed to get this idea of wide and flat, but the necks are still quite thick because they're still 50s Gibsons.
Yeah.
So they're biggish necks.
So would you say the neck on an Explorer is the same as the neck on a Flying V?
The Explorers I've played haven't been quite as pronounced as that Flying V, but they were all still very much from the days of thick, you know, thick kind of mahogany-ish necks. Yeah. I know we've got to talk about mahogany versus Carina, but thickish necks, you know, consistent with 58 Les Pauls and other guitars around the time. But the other thing was, coming from '58, all the Flying Vs and the Explorers, they just snuck in on the wide frets.
Right. So they had the.
I don't think I've ever seen one or heard of one of those guitars with the old skinny frets.
Yeah. And I'm really, Bob, I think there's 2 types of people. There's people that have played an Explorer. No, I know you, and people that haven't. But I mean, no. but to a lesser degree, I mean, there's people that have played an Explorer type guitar. Yeah. And as soon as if you've never played an Explorer, guys, you look at this and you think, that's just stupid. Who would on earth want to play that?
Yeah.
But when you have it on your leg and you put your arm around it, they are surprisingly comfortable.
So comfortable and balanced. Yeah. Look, I'm not holding the guitar at the moment. Balanced and comfy. Yeah. They feel just great. And you always say, and you've got somewhere to rest your beer,
Yeah.
rest your arm when you're drinking a beer. But they're really comfy.
And the neck seems to be just in the right place. And it's a Gibson scale,
Yeah.
so it's not like the longer fit,
Yeah.
but it's just in the right place, and it just feels. So before we go to talk about your guitar, let's just hear your guitar. I'll play you a little riff, and you can solo over it.
Okay.
So Rob, what is this thing here? It looks. I mean, can I just say first of all, this is super light. This is so light. It's like floating up. It's like a balloon with helium.
Floats away, made of air. It's a Dwight Eliminator, made by Clive Brown in Yorkshire. Clive is a master refinisher and luthier.
He's quite well known. He's quite the fellow, isn't he?
He's quite the man, and he's a few years ago he actually bought the rights to a guitar line called Dwight. The backstory being that Dwight was the son of a department store owner in Midwestern America, and this department store owner decided he wanted to, in the days of general stores, he wanted to have a line of guitars.
I think Joe Bonamassa's told this story, hasn't he?
I think he might have done.
Yeah, I've heard it.
But what does he know?
Good old Joe. I like Joe.
Hi, Joe. Anyway, so the store owner decided to have a line of guitars made for him by the Epiphone company. And he asked them, however, to brand the guitars not Epiphone, but Dwight. A Dwight, an original Dwight, is merely an Epiphone coronet, but instead of the E on the pick guard here, it's got a D, and instead of Epiphone on the headstock, it's got Dwight. So, long story short, that was back in 61, about 1961, sometime around there. About
I'm guessing they cost a lot of money, right?
No, they did. Well, they do now because they're collectible. I mean, they're only Epiphone coronets but with a different badge, but the different badge makes them a bit sexy to collectors. And the Epiphone coronet, remember, is just a great Les Paul Jr. It's a fantastic guitar. P90, plank of wood, mahogany, brilliant. So, many years later, Clive Brown bought the rights to the name. And the next thing I knew, I had an email in my inbox one day with a picture of an Explorer with a single pickup and a wraparound tailpiece and Dwight on the headstock. And my curiosity was excited. So I emailed him back and said, please tell me this isn't real. Because obviously if it had been real, I mean, it would have been a unique Explorer from 1958.
Oh, right, yeah.
I mean, gimme. Anyway, of course it wasn't. He said, no, I just made it last week.
That very one?
No, one like it. And then a few years later, he was passing through London, through Heathrow, on his way out to the Dallas Guitar Show, Arlington, with a colleague of his, and he had a few guitars, including one of these Explorers, and we sat down in this empty hotel at about 1 o'clock in the morning, with all these guitars all over the sofas. I played one of these and literally just heard it ring and said, please, just when you get back, knock it one up.
It's got a very sparkly acoustic tone to it, hasn't it?
It's like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Very loud and resonant. Running joke for the guitar show, chaps. I'm still on my yoga ball, the one that you're all now wishing me to fall off, and I still haven't fallen off, but today, the day is young, it could happen yet. But he's on a proper chair, and he's falling off his chair. And that's as strange as gravity. There we go. Anyway, back to the knitting.
I thought I was gonna, Okay, so what is this wood? Tell me what this wood is.
Well, so it's what Gibson used to call Carina.
African limber.
African limber wood, apparently.
Yeah.
Right. This piece of wood came from a timber yard somewhere up on the northeast coast of England. It's not very old.
Right.
Well, at least I don't know what it's.
I think everyone gets their wood from this place.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they do, but it's a slab of.
Is it limber? Is that because it looks limber?
It looks like it, and it feels like it, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't know if it was made from chocolate. Frankly, I mean, it's wood.
It's a beautiful grain and colour.
Nice to look at, but the main thing is, I mean, you know, it just rings.
it's a beautiful.
And it's so it's got a wraparound, unlike a proper Explorer like you're holding, which has got a Tune-o-matic and a stop tailpiece. This also, but it's got a wraparound, so you think, well, it ought to have a P90, but it's actually got PAF. It's got PAF wound by Matt Gleeson at Monty's, who winds. I think they're fantastic pickups. I think they're probably the best, but other people have got different preferences. Let's split the difference on. They are some of the very best PAFs that money can buy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Go with that.
Yeah. And that's about it. You know, it's got Clusen 6-in-line Clusen tuners.
Beautiful.
Dot inlays. The neck is pretty big. It's
because the inlays, the inlays are correct because they're made of.
Are they clay?
No. The what's it called? You know,
abalone. But they're not very green. I mean, you're right. They're pearly, but they're not green.
Yeah, on the originals they were.
You know, single ply pick guard, not particularly well cut to the shape of the guitar. You know, which is accurate. The only other little private joke is that the 58 style bonnet knobs are obviously they're not original because this guitar isn't original. This is a 2016 guitar.
2016, right.
Yeah. So I mean, these are modern knobs, but just for the sake of a bit of fun, Clive actually supplies these guitars with vintage knobs. He supplies them with vintage Gibson amplifier knobs, which are basically knobs with no numbers. But I need the numbers, so I bought a set.
He's
of
a
knobs
numbers man.
I bought a set of knobs with the numbers so I could look at them.
Yeah.
But I just thought, why not have a bit of fun, given the rest of this guitar is so mental. So I bought a set of knobs that go up to 11. Because they make these things that go up to 11 now.
And this guitar does go to 11.
Well, this guitar goes, you know, in the right hands.
It's Strasser.
There you go. So anyway, that's this right. And it's
got the material on this board is Wenge.
Wenge. A darkish wood, quite a lot of wood grain in it.
African wood as well, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. So this is really an African guitar.
If only I could play African music. If only I could play any music.
He can, trust me. So that's beautiful, yeah.
Okay, so that's the Dwight Eliminator.
Okay.
And these are made to this day. He makes these you know,
really?
This is not old and vintage and unobtainium.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
You can go to Clive tomorrow and ask him to build you one.
You can order one. I mean, they're not cheap, but then frankly, you know, it's a good guitar. It's a quality instrument. It's beautifully made.
And to be honest, you know, an Explorer has to be the ingredients of Carina wood. You need the Carina African limber, whatever you want to call it. You need that wood. If the wood's not there, you're not going to get the sound. Because the Explorers do have a sound, don't they?
Shouty.
They're slightly different from an Explorer, from a Flying V. Would you say?
Well, I think Angels on Pinheads maybe. I mean, they are made of the same wood. So I mean, the only excuse you've got is the possible loading of shape, and I think that's a pretty finessed argument.
I don't know. I just think maybe it's a look or maybe it's a hockey stick head stuff.
Maybe.
You know, the contain falls off.
You've got long string runoffs and stuff over here. Maybe
who knows?
These are tiny features. Yeah.
But okay, do you want to play something for me and? On the neck pickup here, which you haven't got, I'm afraid, but you do have that.
I haven't got a neck pickup, guys.
You do get it's that kind of Abbott King sort of
especially on the fourth and fifth strings. It's really got that kind of really grippy. It's lovely.
Yes, so this one here, Bob, it's an ESP made one. It's from about mid 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. And ESP, Electric Sound Products, are based in.
I never knew that.
Electric Sound Products are based in Japan, and they're owned by a very rich man apparently. And he then set up some custom shops in LA and New York. They had a famous one in New York and Germany as well. Some sort of custom shops there, but his main operation was in Japan. And they owned, going right back into early ESP, they owned a real burst. They owned 3 bursts. They owned Flying V's, SG, all the old equipment, and that's how they would base their copies on with the original guitars. My question to you guys, do you know if they actually owned an Explorer? I know they owned a Flying V, but I don't know if they owned actually an Explorer. But the thing with this here is it's quite heavy. This is we weighed it today, and it's not a light guitar. It's around 9 pounds.
Hovering just under or just over 9 pounds,
Yeah.
according to which way the wind's blowing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this piece of Carina, which I like to call it, it's beautiful, isn't it? It's got this kind of wavy sort of pattern, which is nice. And I'm not going to mention the guy because this came with no pickup, so I put Mojo pickups. I'm not happy with Mr. Mojo pickups, actually, Bob.
Oh. Why so? Why so?
Well, I thought we were friends. Me and Mark Mojo, Mr. Mojo.
But
I ordered some pickups, and it's been 2-3 years. He hasn't contacted me. He's just blown me out. You know. So I take that as a.
Okay, I mean, right. We're putting out a bit of a message here.
Well, I just think he should get in touch with me
and this was you ordered some pickups for good money.
Yeah, I was going to pay him.
Yeah, there was no freebie or anything involved.
No, he's given me some free stuff. And he's a great fella. He's a really nice guy, and I love his pickups.
Okay, so
I love his humbuckers.
I'm going to cut him an inch of slack and just say maybe he thought that you were going for another freeb, and he didn't, and he thought that your road had run out.
I'm not a cheapskate.
Okay, but but if he's watching this, we can dispossess him of that and say, actually, Mark, that wasn't the case. If there was any misunderstanding,
I bought stuff off him before.
Yeah,
I actually bought.
Okay, well,
paid money.
That's disappointing. Yeah. But I mean, having said that, there's a number of other people. I mean, the set of PAFs that I'm most interested in trying. I don't need any PAFs for another guitar at the moment, but I'd love to try putting a set of OX4s in one of my guitars. Because my friend Jimmy Litherland has got some OX4s of all things in a Jazzmaster, which is a bit like, it's a bit weird. It sounds absolutely sublime. And all the OX4s I've heard have been really good. There's obviously Matt Gleason at Monty's. He's a great.
Monty's, I've heard a lot of good things about his.
So if you do decide that you
I might have to look. If you guys can suggest another humbucker, because it's like Mark's not getting back to me.
But having said that, that does sound pretty bloody good. I mean, I wouldn't say it was broke. It didn't need fixing.
No, but if I needed another set, which I probably do, I'll have to go to someone else because Mark's not replying to my emails anymore.
I do remember that there was a very well-known vintage guitar dealer operating in this country, probably the highest-end guy of all. And when I was collecting and spending big money on guitars, I never bought anything off him for the simple reason that every time I took an interest in an instrument he had and said, okay, what's the price on that? He refused to answer me.
Yeah.
Now, it's very difficult to buy something without a price.
Do you know what, Bob? I think American guitar companies are much more into, another day, another dollar. They're much more into business than the British. The British tend to be like, oh, go on, do I have to sell this to you? Whereas the Americans are like, yeah, sure, no problem. When do you want it packaged? I'll get it out to you. They're super efficient. Whereas the British seem to be like, oh, do you really want to buy something?
Well, can I be bothered? But also, I think that the British attitude is very much, well, if anybody's asking, it's probably worth more than I've got it up for. Yeah. So if I simply hang around, then either this buyer will push their own price up.
Yeah.
I'm not that fucking dumb, guys. Or another buyer will come along.
Bless America.
The guitar's been on the rack for 2 years. It's not selling. I don't understand it. But while we're on this subject, I would say something else. This is going to get me into trouble.
Go for it, Bob.
My experience of dealing with dealers in America, you go to the top dozen or so, and you ask very specific questions.
Yeah.
Right? It's up to you. It's caveat emptor. But if you ask very specific questions, I've never been given a misrepresenting answer. If I've omitted to ask a question, they haven't volunteered an answer.
Yeah.
But if I've asked them, are the pickups original? What kind of pickups are they? What are the resistances? Have the Clusons got a single line on them? Whatever the blather is. And I find certainly up at that end in America, right?
I think the
I
Americans,
hesitate to say they're straight,
Yeah.
but there's a certain kind of order to things.
I think they are straight.
I don't think that works over here very well.
No, I think I'm always impressed when I buy something from America with the service.
Yes.
Service is fantastic. When I buy something in the UK, which is my home, I'm British proud. It's always, it's always like a half-assed.
Doing you a favour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is with the British sort of mentality, but anyway, let's get back to the Explorers.
Let's go back to the Explorers.
So to finish this off, it's quite heavy. It's a beautiful. This piece of wood, guys, it's just incredible. The look of it.
It's got a lovely shine. It's a well-aged finish, but it's also quite glossy. This is a bit more matte. That's very glossy.
Yeah, it's glossy. It's checkered, so it's real nitro. It's got a beautiful Honduras rosewood board. And you like the width, don't you?
Well, the other thing I was just noticing, I haven't noticed this before, both these guitars have got quite deep fingerboards. So what? Does it really matter? I don't know, but it looks good and it feels good.
Does the original have thick? I think it...
Not noticeably. Right? It's not a great big chunk of anything.
Right.
Probably the deepest fingerboard I can think of is on my 1960 TV Junior.
Right.
That's got really quite a thick rosewood board to it.
Yeah.
At least it looks thick against the yellow. These look quite thick, but
So, all in all, the thing with an Explorer is they're going to surprise you. It's kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? A sleeper guitar, maybe, or that's probably the wrong word. But they're a guitar that whenever you pick them up, they always sort of shock you of how good they are.
Yeah. I think in that sense, you're right. Sleeper in that sense. I mean, the sleeper usually people now use in the collector sense.
Right.
As a guitar that's going to pick it up now. It's pretty.
That's
daunting.
not the case with an Explorer.
Not the case with especially with a real Explorer. I mean, you're so far into six figures, that your eyes will bleed.
Yeah. But just play me a lick here. I know we've got different amps. I'm playing through a Lazy J amplifier.
Shout out to Jesse, by the way. Is it time to tell the T-shirt story?
I'm afraid, guys, you need to listen to this story.
It's a sad story. So, a while ago, Jesse very kindly sent Ramon a couple of T-shirts, Lazy J T-shirts. Jesse being the maker of these fantastic Lazy J, basically tweed tweed deluxe reproduction amps, and they're very, very good. And anyway, he sent them to Ramon. Ramon, unfortunately, had a mental ablution that day and gave Jesse the wrong address. He left the one off the first three digits of his address. So Jesse, bless him, sent the T-shirts to this wrong address whence they disappeared. And we want to wear these T-shirts doing a show, but we can't because they've disappeared. But we can't. We can't really.
Now, Jesse,
we can't really do anything.
The thing is, Bob, Jesse now is no longer returning my messages. So I pissed off basically two makers, Mojo and Jesse. I don't know how. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, guys.
Well, hopefully, Jesse is still talking to me on Facebook, so maybe we can patch this up. Because God knows we both love the amps. We just love the amps.
Jesse makes the best amps. Amazing. So give me a little bit of. You're going through a Tommy Cougar.
My older one, yeah. that, guys, what do you think about Explorers?
I just think they're super comfortable. They've got an incredible voice, you know, the very unique voice, and it's a beautiful voice because of the carina wood. They're super playable because of the beautiful neck dimensions. Okay, they've got this stupid thing up here, which you can batter quite easily, and they've got a crazy headstock which you can you know, destroy quite easily. So apart from that, they are incredible guitars, Bob.
I agree. I'd recommend them. I mean, you know, we're lucky we've got a few guitars, so we can afford to have a kind of pointy, funny shaped guitar. But I remember ever since I first saw one, the guitar player who played in Leon Russell's band played one on the whistle test. And I mean, I'd never seen a Firebird then, and I did a bit of research and thought, oh, it's a Firebird, but it doesn't look that pointy. And it took me years before I saw another one. And as soon as I saw another one, I thought, yeah, and I had to, you know, I had to have one. So I've had Explorers on and off, you know, through my playing life. I've got a couple now, one of which is my old one that Kevin Aaron made, and the other one is this. And you know, I think they're really good, fun guitars. No, they don't stand up. They don't stand up. But the funny thing is, you know, all this stuff about, you know, SGs and Les Paul Juniors and Firebirds and about headstock brakes.
Yeah.
Maybe there aren't enough Explorers around, but you'd never hear headstock brakes on these things. Anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
But they get the Bob and Ramon 5-star recommendation as a guitar.
Certainly do. Certainly do. Just find one, guys, and try one out.
Try one. Yeah. So hope you've enjoyed this. Us back together for briefly under the guise of work during lockdown. To be fair, this is our work. It's part of our work now, so I think it's legit. But we wish you all the best, and we'll be back very soon with an interesting episode, possibly about a particular and very loved kind of pickup from Gibson. Until then, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from Bob.
Bye.